Yo, what's up? I'm Coach Rich Thurman, also known as Coach RT3, and today we're going to show you a couple of ways in which you can work on strengthening the front tissue of your knee joint in order to be stronger there and mitigate injury. Before we get started, make sure you smash the subscribe button so you never miss a post. What we typically do in the gym is we do a lot of exercises like squats, lunges, lots of dynamic movements. And all of those movements are focused on the building of our muscle tissue. But in that quest for more muscle tissue, we often neglect the need for strong load-bearing connective tissue. How do we address connective tissue? Well, we know that connective tissue is addressed more through isometrics and eccentric loading of the tissue. If we want to bias connective tissue, we have to do a little bit more to bias towards eccentric and isometric loading of our tissue within our training. One of the very first things we can look at is isometrics. So I'm here on the floor. I've got my knee bent, so this is the tissue I want to focus on. I'm going to pull this leg towards me. I can do positional isometrics from here. So basically, I can grab onto that shin bone, and now I can try and contract, trying to do this motion here. I can hold there and try to contract isometrically. That's going to put all that connective tissue under load and under tension. And so we can drive connective tissue there. We can strengthen through that. We can also decide that we want to strengthen it at different points. That's the fun thing about isometrics is we can be very specific at the length we want to train. So if I move my leg out slightly and hold from there, I can create an isometric at that length of tissue. And if I go out even further, I can create isometric contraction there as well. So we can be positional and specific with isometrics. Another thing we can do is eccentric quasi-isometrics. So I like to use a slant board, and you can just stand on the slant board, move yourself into a slight knee bend, and hold there. Now, over time, you're going to begin to fatigue, and you're going to fatigue into new zones. That's going to lengthen that tissue, and you're going to load bear on that tissue as you move into length. So one of the ways in which connective tissue is influenced heavily is moving from shortened to lengthened. So eccentrics are a good tool to use for that. Now, if you're not familiar with the movement, start with no load or start with very little load. But if you feel as though no load is enough, you can add something like a ball or a barbell, and you can start your isometric or your eccentric quasi-isometric here. As you fail into those new zones, you're working that long, strong eccentric through the motion. Finally, another thing I like to do is kind of a modified sissy squat position. So we go here, and right now my tissue or my knee tissue is at 90 degrees of flexion, and that tissue is not lengthened very much. But as I move back this way, that tissue is going to become even more lengthened and under more load. So we can do this without any support, but I like to get started with a little bit of support, and for that you can use a band. Now the band is great because as you move into the more difficult areas, which are the areas that are least trained, you get more support. So as I fall further into this position where I'm now driving my tops of my feet down into the ground, trying to create that force and that load to try and drive and connect that tissue and strengthen that load-bearing capacity of that tissue. As I move to these more difficult, challenging areas, I can spend more time under tension there, which is going to give my tissues more opportunities to be strong or to be strengthened, right? If I don't have a band here and I go into those ranges that I'm not comfortable with or not strong with, and I have no support, I'm going to fail right through it, right? So I don't get an opportunity to load that tissue in ways that I want for long durations, which is what your connective tissue really needs. Understand that this is not medical advice, so if you have knee issues, be sure to consult with someone who can help you specifically with your knee problems. This was not meant to solve any of your knee problems. What this was meant to do is help you understand that by training our connective tissue and training our load-bearing capacity, we can get a stronger, more robust knee joint, and we can be stronger in all the activities that we want to do, like running, jumping, and all the other sports that we do. If you like this video, please click the subscribe button and the like button and share it with somebody who might want to know a little bit more about how to build up the strength of their knees.